The studio looked calm in the way only television calm ever is, manufactured, rehearsed, deliberate. The lights overhead glowed warmer than usual, soft amber spilling across the polished table like honey, smoothing edges that were never meant to cut. Outside the tall windows behind the set, winter pressed its face against the glass. Bare branches stood motionless beneath a pale sky, the world paused in quiet contrast to the controlled hum inside. This morning was supposed to be gentle. Inspirational. Safe. Sharon Stone sat with the kind of stillness that only comes from someone who had long ago learned not to rush the room. Her posture was upright but unforced, shoulders relaxed, hands resting loosely around a ceramic mug that had long since gone untouched. She wore deep olive, subtle, deliberate, elegant without effort. The kind of color chosen by someone who didn't need to command attention to be seen. Her gaze moved slowly, not searching for the camera, not avoiding it either. She was reading the room the way a seasoned actor reads silence, listening for what wasn't being said. Across the table, Meghan Markle leaned forward slightly, alert, composed, present. Every angle of her body suggested intention. Ankles crossed precisely. Fingers interlaced just enough to look relaxed, not enough to seem careless. When she nodded, it was measured. When she smiled, it arrived on cue. She had learned, long ago, how to exist in rooms that were never neutral. The hosts moved through their introductions smoothly. Jokes landed. Applause followed. The rhythm was familiar, comforting. This was how the show protected itself, by momentum. Joy asked Sharon about longevity. About staying power. About surviving an industry that devoured women and called it glamour. Sharon answered without drama. I stayed, she said simply. Even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. The audience murmured, appreciative but restrained. This wasn't a soundbite. It was a statement that didn't ask for applause. Meghan smiled politely. Too politely. When the conversation shifted toward her, she inhaled, a breath practiced, not fake, but prepared. The kind of breath you take when you know the camera is listening. For me, Meghan said, voice steady, survival meant refusing to be silent. Refusing to accept the narrative written about me. Cameras tightened. Heads nodded. This was familiar territory. This was language audiences understood. Sharon listened without interruption. Her expression didn't change, but something sharpened behind her eyes, not resistance, not challenge. Recognition. There's power in telling your story loudly, Meghan continued. In owning it before someone else does. That was the moment the air changed. Not dramatically. Not visibly. Just enough to feel. Sharon reached for her water, took a small sip, then set the glass down carefully, as if placing punctuation into the conversation. There is also power, she said evenly, in enduring without applause. The table went still. Not tense. Not yet. Just quiet. Meghan's smile froze for half a second, so brief it would be missed by anyone not trained to look for fractures. She tilted her head, recalibrating. Of course, she replied smoothly. But silence hasn't always protected women like us. The word us landed heavier than intended. Sharon met her gaze for the first time. Not confrontational. Assessing. No, Sharon said. But neither has performance. Joy shifted. Whoopi's eyebrow lifted slightly. Meghan laughed, a soft, disarming sound meant to smooth the edge. It didn't. I don't see storytelling as performance, Meghan said. I see it as survival. Sharon didn't argue. She waited. The pause stretched, 2 seconds that felt like 10. Survival, Sharon said gently, is what you do when there are no cameras. The audience inhaled together. Meghan straightened, fingers tightening where they laced together. Not all suffering happens off-screen. True, Sharon replied. But not all strength needs to be seen. The hosts exchanged glances now. Something had shifted beneath the table, unseen but undeniable. Meghan leaned back slightly, reclaiming composure through distance. Silence becomes noble once it's survivable, she said. After the fact. A few murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. Sharon didn't look away. Endurance isn't noble, she said. It's necessary. The temperature dropped, not literally, but emotionally. Meghan smiled again, sharper now. But visibility changes systems, she said. It opens doors. It also creates stages, Sharon replied. And stages invite expectations. The rhythm broke. Whoopi tried to lighten the moment with a joke, but neither woman followed her lead. Meghan turned slightly toward the hosts, widening the circle. I didn't choose visibility, she said. It came with consequences. Sharon answered immediately. None of us choose the consequences, she said. We choose what we do with them. The audience felt it before they understood it. Meghan set her mug down with precision, aligning it perfectly with the coaster. I spoke because staying quiet nearly broke me, she said firmly. And I won't apologize for that. No one asked you to, Sharon replied. I'm asking for honesty. The word hung there. Honesty. Meghan blinked once. About what? She asked. Sharon's voice stayed calm. About the difference between telling your story and reshaping it. The studio went silent. And just before the hosts could intervene, just before the producers could cut, the camera caught Meghan's expression shift, not anger, not confidence, calculation. The word honesty didn't fade. It didn't echo either. It simply stayed there, suspended between the two women like a held breath no one dared release. The studio light seemed brighter now, harsher against the polished table, reflecting off porcelain mugs and glossy cue cards that suddenly felt irrelevant. The audience shifted in their seats, sensing it instinctively, the moment when a conversation stops being television and becomes something riskier. Meghan was the first to move. She leaned back, crossing one leg over the other with deliberate precision, reclaiming control through posture. Her smile returned, but it was smaller now, sharpened at the edges. Honesty, she repeated. Interesting word. Sharon didn't interrupt. She waited, hands still folded, eyes steady. I think, Meghan continued, voice smooth but cooling, women are often praised for endurance only after they've survived it. Silence becomes noble once it no longer costs anything. A murmur passed through the audience, agreement, discomfort, recognition. Cameras tightened again, catching Sharon's reaction. She tilted her head slightly, an old habit, thoughtful rather than defensive. Endurance isn't noble, Sharon replied. It's necessary. And necessity doesn't care who's watching. Meghan's fingers tapped lightly against the table, once, twice, like she was measuring time. But visibility changes systems, she said. It opens doors. It also creates stages, Sharon answered calmly. And stages invite expectations. Joy shifted in her chair. Whoopi glanced toward the producer's booth, already sensing they were drifting into dangerous territory. This wasn't a debate anymore. This was a comparison no one had agreed to make out loud. Meghan turned slightly toward the hosts, widening the circle, making it public. I didn't choose visibility, she said. Visibility came with the consequences I faced. Sharon responded immediately, without heat. None of us choose consequences, she said. We choose what we do with them. That line landed harder than any raised voice ever could. Meghan's jaw tightened. She reached for her mug, then stopped herself, resting her hand against it as if the weight grounded her. I spoke because staying quiet nearly broke me, she said. And I won't apologize for that. No one is asking you to, Sharon replied. Her voice softened, but only slightly. I'm asking for honesty. Meghan blinked. Just once. About what? She asked. Sharon didn't raise her voice. Didn't gesture. Didn't perform. About the difference, she said, between telling your story and reshaping it. The audience inhaled. A camera operator adjusted focus. Somewhere off-screen, a producer whispered urgently into a headset. Meghan laughed, short, incredulous. Are you suggesting I fabricated my experiences? Sharon held her gaze. I'm suggesting, she said slowly, that memory is powerful, and power edits. The temperature in the studio dropped. Meghan straightened fully now, shoulders back, chin lifted. This wasn't conversation anymore. This was defense. I lived it, Meghan said. I don't need permission to speak it. No, Sharon agreed. But when your story becomes a brand, it stops being just yours. The hosts froze. Joy opened her mouth, then closed it again. Whoopi leaned back, arms crossed, eyes sharp. This was no longer manageable television. That's unfair, Meghan snapped. You don't get to define my motives. Sharon leaned forward just slightly for the first time. And you don't get to pretend motives don't matter. A beat passed. Then another. Meghan exhaled through her nose. Composure cracking at the edges. I find it interesting, she said, that women who endured quietly are celebrated, while women who speak are questioned. Sharon didn't hesitate. I question everyone who profits from pain, she said. Including myself. That stopped Meghan cold. For the first time, she didn't have a response ready. The audience felt it, the break in rhythm, the stumble where confidence should have been. This is becoming personal, Meghan said quietly. Sharon's voice stayed calm. It always was. A producer's voice crackled urgently through an earpiece. Commercial. Now. But Meghan shook her head. No, she said. Let's finish this. And in that moment, the studio knew, they had lost control. The silence that followed wasn't polite. It wasn't awkward. It was heavy. The kind of silence that presses against your chest, demanding an answer from someone, anyone, brave enough to fill it. The studio lights felt hotter now. The air thinner. The audience, usually trained to clap on cue, sat frozen, listening like witnesses. Whoopi glanced toward the main camera as if asking it to blink first. Okay, she said carefully. Let's keep this respectful. Meghan nodded without looking at her. Her eyes never left Sharon. People always want to reduce women to how they handled it. Meghan said. As if survival isn't enough. As if speaking isn't enough. Sharon's expression softened, not with sympathy, but with understanding. Survival is enough, she said. Speaking is enough. But speaking doesn't erase responsibility. Meghan tapped her fingers again, faster now. Responsibility, she repeated. For what exactly? Joy tried to intervene, but Meghan raised a hand without breaking eye contact. No, she said. Let her answer. Sharon nodded once. For what you set in motion, she said. Meghan leaned back, crossing her arms, defensive now, unmistakably. You're implying my words harmed people. Words can, Sharon replied. Especially when they become headlines. My words were my truth. Truth doesn't mean complete, Sharon said. It means believed. A few claps started, then died before they finished. Meghan's eyes flashed. Are you accusing me of manipulation? Sharon shook her head slowly. When your life becomes a narrative, she said, you start editing yourself into the hero. Meghan inhaled sharply. Do you have any idea what it took to stand up after everything? Sharon paused. Looked down for a brief moment. When she looked back up, her voice had changed. I know what it takes, she said. And I know what it looks like when pain becomes currency. The studio went cold. How dare you, Meghan whispered. I'm not saying you didn't hurt, Sharon said. I'm saying you learned how to spend it. Meghan's voice rose, shaking now. You don't get to measure my trauma. No, Sharon said. But I can ask one thing. Meghan's breath hitched. What? Sharon leaned forward just slightly, like a door opening. When the cameras are off, she asked, who are you? Everything stopped. Meghan froze, not because she didn't understand, but because she did. For the first time, there was no script. No polish. No headline waiting. A producer's frantic whisper crackled through her earpiece. Commercial. Now. But Meghan didn't move. You don't know who I am when the cameras are off, she said quietly. That's true, Sharon replied. But I know who people become when they're on. Something cracked. Not loudly. Quietly. Meghan set her mug down too hard. Coffee spilled, staining the table. This is exactly what I mean, she said, voice breaking. Women tearing women down. Then she stood. I won't sit here, she said, and be told my life is a performance. Sharon remained seated. Then don't perform it, she said. That line ended everything. Meghan stared at her, eyes glassy, unguarded. She turned toward the cameras. This is why people stop telling the truth, she said. Sharon watched her go, calm, almost tired. Or, Sharon said softly, because the truth doesn't always like the mirror. Meghan stopped. Turned back once. You'll never know who I am without the story, she said. Because you don't deserve access to it. Then she walked off the stage. The door closed behind her. Silence. Real silence. Sharon looked at the empty chair. I hope she finds peace, she said. The screen faded to black. And the question echoed long after. Who are you, without the story?